It's hotnow37.com, man. Before we jump into this reggae ride to work, we got a special guest in the house right now, Sami Zayn. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Welcome to the station. How's everything?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I understand this is not early for you. I understand you got a newborn.
Well, he's 2 now, so he's not
Oh,
that
2?
new anymore. But yeah, so
Still up.
I'm used to these hours a little bit more than I used to be in my days as a swinging bachelor.
Nah. Was it a rough bachelorhood? Was you out there?
I won't get too into it now. But
He said, I had a good time. I had a good time.
It was what it was.
I'm happy with where I'm at today.
There
That's
you
what
go.
matters.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're from Canada, right?
I am Canadian. I'm from Montreal. Yeah.
And you wrestled in more places than the average wrestler. You wrestled in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
How you moved around and why you moved around so much?
So I started on the independent scene. I've been with WWE for, it's crazy to say, but it's been almost 10 years now. And I was on the independents for about 11 years before WWE picked me up. And I did pretty well for myself out there. And I just kind of made it a mission to be as well-traveled as possible because, so I didn't grow up as a very rich person. So the idea of traveling the world it didn't really seem like a possibility. But then all of a sudden, the world of wrestling affords you that opportunity. So I just saw it as this tremendous gift. In addition to living my dream, or whatever you want to call it, of being able to wrestle, I also get to travel the world.
Anyway.
It's insane. And so I never took it for granted, and I actually kind of made it my mission when I was on the independents to wrestle as many places as possible and just see as much of the world as possible. And I'm very, very grateful that, amazingly, I got to do a lot of that.
Name a few places that you touched that you never thought you would visit.
Just a lot of Europe, Sweden,
Really?
Finland, Japan. A lot of the places are, I've had a couple of these moments. Russia was one where I wrestled in Russia and I walked up to, Red Square. And it's this thing you've only seen in like TV and
Right.
cartoons and Tetris when you're a kid. And then you're standing and it's right there in front of you.
It's unbelievable.
It's surreal, yeah. It's like seeing the Eiffel Tower in person the first time. You're like, this is this thing that I see in paintings and TV shows and cartoons my
a
whole
real
life,
thing.
and it's right there. So, in Japan, felt the same way the first time I was in Japan, just thinking, my God, how am I actually here? So I've been very, very lucky, and I think about it a lot, actually, how lucky I am, like daily. Yeah.
That's awesome, though.
yeah, I think you got to. Yeah.
And you get to travel all these places and do all these great things and get paid for it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I almost feel guilty about it, actually. But we don't need to get into my neuroses here and my psychological breakdown. But I almost feel guilty that I've had it so good. Yeah, that I
You're
get to.
blessed.
Yes,
Very blessed.
yes, it is. It is, and I just wish everybody was as lucky.
Yeah.
But
It was a
I just don't
dream
take it
also.
for granted.
It was a dream also, right?
Yeah, it was a total dream, and so sometimes I tend to minimize it by saying that it was a lot of luck. But the hard work did go into it. But I also think everybody works hard. You know what I mean? So a lot of luck and blessed, if you believe in that kind of thing, whatever it is. I ended up in this position, and it's. I'm just very grateful for it.
You're in town tonight.
I'm in town tonight, and I was actually just talking about how beautiful the drive is here in Connecticut. So even whatever, I know Hartford doesn't sound like the most.
Elegant.
Right.
Elegant. Yeah, it's not like
Exciting
it's
place
not
in the
Paris
world.
or
Right.
Rome or Barcelona or whatever. But I love being here too. I love being. I kind of love everywhere.
The season's really nice out here.
It's so beautiful here. So even being here is such a privilege for me, and actually performing here is always awesome too. Except the last time we were at the Excel Center, that's still what it's called, I guess,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
I lost my wedding ring at that.
Oh!
Did you?
Yes. So I still have a bit of a Hartford. There's still a bit of a sensitivity there.
I think my man tried to sell me that ring.
Hey, you know what? If you got that ring, bring it to the XL Center tonight. Sami Zayn needs this. You had him sleeping on the couch.
So, growing up, did you wrestle in high school? Was this something that you always knew you would get into? Did you know that you would?
Yeah, I was pretty obsessed.
Okay.
I always say I'm just a wrestling fan that took it too far.
Wow.
I just didn't know when to stop. And that was my mom's thing too. Is like, all right, when's enough already? So I didn't do, like collegiate wrestling or amateur wrestling or anything like that. That just wasn't a thing in my high school. But I was, even at that age, wrestling in gym class and wrestling in my backyard and doing all that stuff with my friends. And then actually a friend of mine got a job on a radio show with a local independent wrestler.
Oh, wow.
And this was a guy who I hadn't talked to for a year or two. And when you're 14, that's like an eternity.
Right, it is.
Now you don't see a friend for 2-3 years. It's nothing.
That's still my best bud.
Yeah.
Right.
But I hadn't talked to the kid in 2 or 3 years because I had changed schools. And I get a call out of the blue one day, and he goes, "Hey, I work on this radio show with a wrestler, and if you're still interested, because he knew how obsessed I was with wrestling, he said, this guy will train us if you want." So we started training, and it wasn't exactly an ideal wrestling school. We were just training in a backyard, but it was still
Makeshift training.
Exactly. Like we dragged a bed into the backyard. We only had it for a week. And then we're just learning to fall on the grass.
Yeah.
But anyway, all this to say, I'm grateful for even that because it led me here. So, so that was my introduction into the world of wrestling. So,
That's
yeah,
cool.
It was from a young age.
Your road was a lot different from your peers that's in the WWE.
Some of them, but that's the thing about when you first get to WWE, you start seeing how everybody has such a different path here. And it's like life, you intersect with all these people at a job or anything else. When you start talking to them, it's like, oh, the road you took to get here is quite different from the road I took to get here, but here we are,
Yeah.
And with WWE, you definitely see that because, especially when you first get hired, you go to their developmental territory, their performance center, and they sign a lot of people that have no background in wrestling. They sign guys who are from the world of football or, bodybuilding or whatever, all kinds of different sports and athletics and backgrounds. And I've learned to not judge that because, as I said, everybody kind of has their own way to get there. But for sure, you meet a lot of different people at the WWE level that took a lot of different roads to get here.
Do you try to beat up the people who don't have a wrestling background a little bit more than the ones who do? Like, you haven't taken, you haven't been doing this as long as I have. I'm going to take you down.
Well, it sounds silly, but yeah, that definitely existed for a minute. Of like, you didn't pay your dues and that kind of thing. That exists to a certain extent. But I became, as you get older and wiser, I softened a little bit on, you can't fault people for how they get there.
Yeah.
You can only fault them for what they do when they are there. You know what I'm saying? Like if you had a background and you were the man in, I don't know what, football. You come here and you're acting like you're the man. Well, hey man, you were the man over there.
Yeah.
Over here.
It's a whole new start.
Exactly.
Sami Zayn in the studio right now, man. How did it feel when you was in that ring and you had the shirt on, but then they ripped the shirt off you and gave you a mission shirt? How did that feel being inducted into the family, the Oso family?
Man, it's been so fun doing this stuff with the Bloodline on television.
Bloodline,
And with Roman Reigns, who's obviously the biggest star we've had in probably the last 10 years.
That bout, when that happened, that was amazing to see that.
And it's funny you're asking me about it because that particular segment I've been asked about a lot.
A lot, yeah.
And I think that's the hardest thing to do nowadays in the age of content, where we have so much content and there's TV shows every week and you can do a lot of good stuff, but it's very hard to do stuff that sticks out and that people remember and they talk about a month later, a year later. And and I feel like maybe we did that because that was a very special segment there where I kind of got officially became an honorary Oos thanks to Roman Reigns. So I'll be doing stuff with the Bloodline tonight at the arena, I'm sure, at the XL Arena.
Now,
home of my wedding ring.
You guys tell me this.
He said, home of my wedding ring. Yeah, now it is.
When you picture a wrestler, right, you picture somebody coming here 6'5", 320, and you're not a big guy.
Not by those standards, no. But wrestling's changed a lot over the years.
It has changed.
Yeah, so when I first started, I was way smaller even than I am now. I used to hear that all the time. Oh, you don't look like a wrestler. I used to hear that all the time. But as wrestling has changed and the world has changed, and the bodies have become more athletic and not so blown up or
Not
whatever.
so Ivan Putski.
Yeah,
That's where I come from, yeah.
good reference there. Yeah, that got me.
amazing.
Sorry, that got me. Yeah. So the days of Ivan Putski and those guys, those are kind of gone. So I think I fit in a little bit better, and I don't know how well I would have done in those days, with Hogan and.
Wow, man, they bite your ear off.
Yeah. right.
Who was your favorite wrestler from back then?
So real young, it was Hulk Hogan when I was,
Yeah.
first, maybe 5 years old, 4 years old. Those are my earliest memories. And then once I started getting a little older, 7, 8, and I could start to appreciate the in-ring
actual skill
art.
of it.
Yes. Then Bret Hart was my favorite. Of course,
yeah.
being Canadian, I almost had
Yeah.
no choice there. But Bret Hart became my idol. And then as I got a little bit older and I was about to kind of start wrestling myself, I was really big into Mick Foley, played Mankind, and the Hardys, what they were doing, the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
And then by that time, I think I'd already started training to wrestle myself. So, but those are, you find influences everywhere. But those are the guys that I think shaped me the most in my childhood, that drew me to wrestling the most.
Yeah, it's amazing that wrestling is still doing as great as it is from
Bigger.
when we were young.
Bigger
It's even
somehow.
bigger.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I
even
know.
bigger. I remember when they had the first what is the big event, the very first
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I remember back then it was big.
Yeah.
But now you got so many offsprings of it.
Yeah, yeah.
With SmackDown, with the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
With all of that stuff, man. I mean, wrestling is like one of the biggest sports out here.
And so now that I'm getting a little older, and you're obviously dating yourself here a
Yeah,
little bit too, so
exactly.
you're telling me about this, it's just funny to see that guys that I grew up with, even, for example, that we grew up watching wrestling together, now they're watching it with their kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they used to watch it with their dad and stuff, so it becomes this generational thing, and I don't want to make it sound corny here, but it really is this weird thing that kind of brings families together. Because that's my earliest memory was my dad was watching it. And I was like, what is this? You know what I
How
mean?
did you?
So it became, yeah. And now my dad watches me.
Watches you.
Right. So, and, it is this very weird, very unique art form that combines athletics and storytelling and whatever, and it has the ability to bring families together. And you see it at the arenas. Like, if you look at the people in the stands, you see these multiple generations of older and younger and the kids and the families. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. I really, this is what I love about it.
Tell me about tonight. What's happening tonight? What are we gonna? What can we expect tonight when they go see?
Well, I know I'll be there. I know Roman Reigns will be there, and like
Superstars.
like I said,
Superstars.
yeah, he's the top dog. And it's going to be a great show. We're doing a lot of stuff now because Survivor Series, which is one of our biggest pay-per-views of the year, is next week. And this is one of the last shows going into that big, we used to call them pay-per-views. Now they're premium live events. But so tonight's going to be a particularly big show.
What time does it start? What time is the event start?
It starts at 7:45. It's live to millions of people all over the
XL
world at
Center.
8 p.m. sharp. Yeah, but tonight at the XL Center, 7:45.
Sami
that's gonna
Zayn,
be a
man,
great
thanks for
show.
stopping by. We appreciate it, man. I was supposed to arm wrestle you, but I think I'm not going to do that.
That's okay.
No, he's supposed to put you in a full Nelson. Don't try to get
What
out of
happened?
that.
What
He's
happened?
supposed to put you in a full Nelson. I'm wrestling with easy. He's supposed to put you in one of them locks.
That ain't going to happen. Let me tap on right now. Right now.
Smart.
Thank you. Thank you
Well,
for
coming.
sparing
We
me.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's a lot of fun today. Thank you.
Good luck tonight, too.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.